Hello everyone. Today we're studying how to establish internal boundaries with ourselves. We set internal boundaries with our thoughts, emotions, unhelpful impulses, and behaviors so our inner family members know how to behave, what is expected of them. So there's clarity for our inner family members. Inner internal boundaries are more important than external boundaries, but we don't learn them in when we grow up in dysfunctional families. We do not learn how to execute a boundary with our own family members, how to or what boundary is needed with the external people, external world as well. So when we don't learn how to set boundaries, we have difficulty keeping promises to ourselves. We have difficulty changing our habits, and we have compulsions around substances, people, behaviors that we cannot stop. We have difficulty following through with our behaviors and reaching our goals and keeping our promises, establishing that consistency because we lack internal boundaries. When we set internal boundaries, we learn how to be accountable for ourselves, how to hold ourselves accountable. We learn when we learn internal boundaries. When we set internal boundaries, we can stop behaviors that bring us unhealthy consequences in relationships, in work, in our health, in our finances. So internal boundaries are really for our protection, our guidance, and to bring peace and clarity to our inner family. Internal boundaries will help your inner family turn over responsibility to your living parent, to your loving parent, right? So our inner family has our wise, reasonable, loving inner parent and inner teen that protects us and gets angry for us, tells us a boundary is violated. Then our true essence, our inner child that holds our truth, that holds our wounds as well as our talents, right? So protection, and then our inner critic that tells us, don't do this, don't do that, that puts shame and blame on us and causes rumination. So when we put internal boundaries with our inner critic and ask them to love and relax, retire, contribute to our growth, our inner family listens to us when we communicate with them with clarity and boundaries. When you set internal boundaries, you invite your inner child or your inner teen to relax in a safe environment because you tell them, hey, the wise, loving parent is in charge. You can relax. Your reactivity can take a break. I'm here. I'm in charge now. And you get to be the inner child or you get to be the teenager and let the adults handle it. So, this type of dialogue, when we let our inner family and our loving parent know that you are going to protect my inner family, you are there to set boundaries with the critical parent, letting them know, do not harshly second guess me, do not belittle or criticize me, right? So remembering that our inner children go everywhere with us, we set internal boundaries for their protection, for their clarity, for their safety, so they know how to behave in the world in order to be our integrated whole self. So, but if you feel scared or anxious, worried about setting an internal boundary, another part of you is likely reacting. Another part of you is probably scared that they're going to be disappointed again. Then you can communicate as your wise, loving inner parent. You can say, it's okay to practice this new way. I am setting this boundary for our safety, and I will handle the consequences. And if it doesn't work, we will try again. So, communication is so important with your inner family. Mindfulness is the second thing that will help you recognize and understand where do you need these boundaries. Once you become aware of the chaos or the disharmony that is going on inside you, your wise loving parent can step up to say, hey, no more rumination. I'm setting an internal boundary, and I will teach you how to do that in this video. When we set an internal boundary to protect our inner family member who get caught in rumination or repeating a thought loop, staying in our head is their way to control the situation. But now you can say that you're getting scared by an image or a thought of the future. This is not the future. This is not the past. I'm in charge. I'm here to guide you and tell you what we need to do or how we need to be so that we can be our whole, safe, integrated self. And with practice, you can turn your attention away from critical parent. You can label a shaming thought as it comes up and let it go. Surrender it to higher power. We understand that we're powerless over the thoughts that come and go, but we're not powerless over redirecting those thoughts into a different direction. Some days we might need to recognize and set internal boundaries with our critical parent, and some days we may need to recognize and set a boundary with the anger or the numbing of the inner teenager. So our ability to unhook from the distorted thoughts goes stronger each time we tell our inner critic, hey, pause. Hey, we're not doing this anymore. Each time you communicate with love, clarity, nurture, and guidance, your inner family responds. Another place where internal boundaries are so powerful is emotional reactivity. Having emotional boundaries helps us know where we end and another person begins. Emotional boundaries help us know our feelings while not taking responsibility for other people's feelings. Without emotional boundaries, we tend to absorb or get highly affected by other people's feelings and emotions. We take on blame, we personalize everything because we lack internal emotional boundaries. Internal emotional boundaries are needed to support your inner family members. Your loving parent can say, hey, you're not responsible for other people's feelings. Just take care of your own feelings. Because when there is a lack of healthy internal boundaries with our inner children, our thoughts and feelings and their takeovers can escalate because inner child is just a child. Their wounds can get blended with our adult self and we can start acting from a place of reactivity. Our inner teenager can just escalate without internal boundaries. They can escalate and they can bring us to numbing or acting out or behaving in ways that will have heavy consequences later on for the adult. So internal behavioral boundaries help us transform patterns that trap us in our reactivity, in our that comes from the past. Now, as your loving parent, you can learn to tend to your inner children's feelings and set internal boundaries when the intense feelings get triggered. When we sense that there is an impulse for the inner child to shut down, or inner teen to lash out or numb themselves, or inner critic to start criticizing us or belittling us, you can help them by asking them to pause. You can bring down that intensity with breath work and grounding. And this gives our inner family a chance to be actors rather than reactors in our life. So, as you're doing this work with me today, think of what are some of your thought patterns that overwhelm you, where you ruminate. What are some of your emotional reactions that occur and you go out of control? Right? What are some of your unhelpful habits and behaviors and thought patterns and emotions that you need to take a break from? Where do you need internal boundaries? You can have boundaries around thought patterns such as rumination or catastrophizing. You can say, I'm not entertaining that thought anymore. That doesn't serve me anymore, right? You can have internal boundaries around emotional reactions, such as feeling guilty when you stand up for yourself. You can say things like, it's okay if someone else feels disappointed in me, but my answer is still no. I don't want to hurt them. I want to be there for them, but I really cannot because I need to take care of myself first, right? Boundaries around unhelpful behaviors can sound like, eating this cookie is going to harm my blood sugar, so we're going to put this down and walk away from the cookie jar, right? Thank you for trying to help me feel better by feeding me sugar, right? Serotonin helps us feel better, and it's a fact. But we can thank our inner family and say, hey, thank you for helping me soothe, but this is going to be harmful for me in the long run, so I'm going to walk away from this cookie, right? So now imagine when you apply this internal boundary to yourself, how do you feel? What emotions and sensations are coming up for you? Internal boundaries are a form of unconditional love that allow your inner family to relax and trust you. So the dysfunction that you grew up with, you can leave it on the outside. Inner world, inside, you can establish a lot of peace, a harmony, serenity by guiding your inner family, by telling them what is expected of them, with awareness, with internal boundaries, with explaining to them. When you're aware, you can recognize what boundary needs to be set. Is it overthinking? Is it compulsive behavior? Is it excessive substances, lashing out, judgmental thinking? Right? These are some of the ways that we torment ourselves by letting our inner family run wild with emotion and not soothing them, not guiding them. So, if your inner child's distorted thinking is active, you can set a boundary and say, you don't need to believe that. That's not the truth, what they said. You are enough no matter what. Their behavior or their including or not including you is not a reflection of who you are or what you're capable of, right? Some other examples can be, you tell your inner family, there will be times when you don't feel like doing something, and it's okay that you don't want to do it, but I'll do it because it's for my health, because it's a commitment I made, because this is good for us, so I will do it. And you can let that part, the resistance, just be. You can let that part just be and talk to them and soothe them, but still uphold your commitment, your promise to yourself or other, right? You can say things like, avoiding that project, avoiding that meeting sounds really tempting, doesn't it? And you don't have to do it. I'll take care of it. You kick back, you relax. I'm gonna go get it done and come back. It's not your job, little one, right? So if your inner child is really scared of doing something, you can tell them that it's not your job, little one. I am the one who has to go talk about this. I'm the one who has to resolve this. You don't have to worry about it. You're just a child. So acknowledge them, acknowledge their pain, acknowledge their presence, and guide your inner family with internal boundary. An internal boundary is most effective when you've already done the prep work with your inner family, right? You tend to your inner child, your inner teen's feelings, you tend to their needs, you soothe them, you listen to them, you understand them, you acknowledge them, and you provide them with that trust and safety that is needed for them to open up and communicate. They need to trust that if something happens, you will be there to protect the inner child and the inner teen, that you will speak up, right? If we jump straight to guidance and straight telling our inner teen, don't do that, don't do this, that's our inner critic again. We want our wise, loving, reasonable inner parent to come forward and do the work, not our inner critic telling our inner child and inner teen what to do this, do that. Whenever you have that loud, obnoxious, judgmental, commanding, authoritative voice, that is not your wise, loving parent. That is your inner critic. So jump to soothing them whenever you feel that reactivity inside of you, whenever you feel like you don't want to drink that water, or you want to eat badly, or you want to numb out, or you want to escape, or you want to indulge or engage in any unhealthy behavior that is not aligned with you. What you need is an internal boundary and an internal conversation with your parts, telling them what they're missing, that they're missing the big picture, that I am there to protect them, right? So talk to them. You can also say things like, I can see how mad you are with that person. I will go to another room so things don't escalate, because we want results for the bigger picture. Feeling angry is okay, lashing out is not. You can say that to your parts. You can express your feelings to me. I'll address it with the person as the time comes. Right? You can say things like, Dad told you you were stupid. It wasn't true then, it's not true now. Let that thought go. It's hurting you. It was his immaturity that I do not need to inherit, right? Or you can say things like, I'm turning the TV off now. We can watch more another time. We're going to the gym. Let's get in the car now, right? Just because we're taking some time to rest doesn't mean you're lazy, right? Whenever your inner critic comes up to blame you, shame you, you can say, just because I'm taking a little time doesn't mean I'm lazy. I'm always doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm being who I'm meant to be, right? You can say things like, I feel so sorry. So you feel so angry at my boss. Then you can say, but you might be mistaking them for that angry authority figure of your childhood. And the boss is not doing anything, right? So you can bring clarity to the situation. You can tell your parts, express your anger to me, express the difficulty working with this person to me, and then I will do the corporate speak and get the results that I need, right? So that's how you set an internal boundary with your inner family members, so you can bring them to functioning in a sober, mature manner in the world, so you can get results. Internal boundaries are needed to so you can get results and achieve your goals in life. If you have no internal boundaries, this can lead to distinguishing what is a need, what is a want. You can have difficulty tolerating discomfort and disappointment in your life, right? If your inner family is just running amok, you will struggle with achieving things, you will struggle with discipline, you might have entitlement, impatience, and a disregard for rules. Why? Because your inner teenager is just running amok. So you will struggle with discipline, impatience, you may disregard rules, you may disregard authority. Whereas if you have too rigid internal boundaries, then you may not be able to healthily engage with your outer world. You may be rigid in your own stance and unable to understand. Growth doesn't come if your boundaries are too rigid. What does healthy internal boundaries looks like? You have more realistic expectation of yourself, of your limits, you honor and respect your limits, you honor and respect your boundaries, you know what your limits and boundaries are. You realize that current situations are not past situations. They may be a reflection of a pattern that we are in, but they're not still the past. So you communicate that to your inner family, that we're not stuck in the past. You're able to cope more with discomfort and disappointment when you have good internal boundaries set, right? And you can discover that you're able to live life a lot more smoothly, in line with your goals and promises, and more peacefully. Things just fall into place when you operate out of clarity of and guidance of your internal family, of your internal boundaries. You can honor the feelings of your inner family, but you don't have to comply with their demands or requests. Everything that you say, I feel like this, I don't feel like this, That's not where you stop. You do more work around that feeling to understand, what do I need to do? Is this feeling justifying my action appropriately? Is the feeling just needs soothing, or do I need to act on this feeling? You can honor your feelings without complying the demands and the pressure of that feeling. When you don't want to do something, get curious. Why don't I want to do my breathing exercises? Why don't I want to drink water? What is the fear? Where am I coming from? Is this shame? Is this guilt? Is this fear? Is this fear of the unfamiliar? Is this fear of the growth? Is this fear of what else I might have to do if I do my breath work regularly? What's coming more? Do I have to do so much more work? So expressing your needs in a healthy way, that I am scared that if I start doing the breath work, I might have to do the next thing and then the next thing. And when is it going to end? So express your needs in a healthy way. This can lessen your urge to set reactive boundaries, right? Honesty. You need honesty to set boundaries rather than rigidity or saying this is what needs to be done. Sometimes you have to listen to your inner family and maybe not do that breathing exercise, maybe not go to the gym, but that cannot be your norm. You cannot let wounded inner children run your life. Setting and maintaining healthy boundaries is a form of living amends we make to our inner children, right? Inner children act out because they were done wrong. And now we do them right so they can act right. It's a form of making things right with our inner family by establishing boundaries with them. So I hope in this video it was clear, why do we need to establish internal boundaries before we start the inner work even? How can internal boundaries be so helpful to achieving your goals and promises and overcoming resistance? And how internal boundaries is an expression of unconditional love towards your inner family, because not only do you keep your inner family safe, but you listen to them. You listen to them, you acknowledge them, then you weigh their needs and wants and desires and what they're saying, and then you explain to them why something is good to do or not good to do. So it's a form of complete communication and inclusivity and belongingness and acceptance and acknowledgement that your inner family member did not get in the past from your dysfunctional family. So now, when you talk to your inner family members and you communicate their that you hear them, that you know their needs, that they are not in the past, that it's a different setting in the present, that they will be heard, but they not necessarily be followed, right? A wounded teenager and a wounded inner child, whatever they want, need, and desire, does not need to be given to them right away. We do not need to blend in with our wounds, and that's the big message of this video. Do not blend in with your wounds. Be present to your wounds and love them and acknowledge them, and bring your inner family to safety by applying these internal boundaries. All right, so I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you.